Hello everybody. So today we're going to talk about the reflation trade and ask the question of whether it's dead or not. Now this is really important because it's been one of the key themes for the year across all of the markets really. So let's dive into that. Now please ignore any background noise because we're doing some desk adjustments and we are on a trading floor. Alright, let's kick into it. So the reflation trade, let's just talk about what it is. Basically, with all the stimulus that's been applied from the central banks post-COVID, it's really been propping up the market, putting lots of excess cash in the system, and we've seen things like equities bid to all-time highs. This year we've seen commodities go flying, and in return we've seen bonds come off. And not only have bonds been coming off, but they've been steepening. So that happened for the first few months of the year, and then after that, things started to change. So take T-notes for example, which we're looking at here on a back adjusted chart. So earlier in the year, you can see here is the start of 2021, the market started to offer, and it got really heated here, pulled back, had another go, and then we kept grinding down to make lower lows until this point where the market wasn't able to go lower anymore, which was April. The start of April, and from then the market stayed bid, and you can see a few things. Well, there's lots of wicks to the downside, or sort of a strongly bearish day followed by a bullish day, and so the market just hasn't been able to stay offered. Now saying that, it's been quite confusing because you've also seen some pretty big wicks to the upside as well, but the market has slowly ground all of those out. What this is really telling us here is that, I suppose, is that the market got really short putting on this trade. It's got down here and there's no one willing to continue it. And then we've got the Fed, for example, who's looking for more improvement from the labour market, and because we're not seeing that, I think the market's saying, well actually, okay, if we're not seeing improvement in the labour market, then maybe we're not going to get the inflation that the Fed wants. I suppose it kind of all goes like hand in hand. And then from there, the market's the fact that bonds are staying bid, especially at the long end, is telling you that, you know, that the market just doesn't see the next leg, and it's sort of starting to believe this transitory thing. So what's really interesting about this trade is what happened this week. So let's go back to the charts. And so to continue the discussion, we'll look at BUNs. And so here's the BUN daily. Now, back here, this is a one-time framing weekly offer. And then what's happened recently is that the market has made this block, and this block's contained ECB, FOMC, Bank of England, NFP, and NFP was just here. That actually became an inside day. We had a failed break to the downside and the market's broken it. And so by breaking it, it's broken this 4-week range here, and it started to bid and unwind some of this. Now what's really key about this is we got flattening in the German curve. We've had really aggressive flattening in the US curve as well, and the 2s, 10s. And so that's really telling us that the market's not seeing inflation right now. And so for the time being, I think the inflation trade's not on, because for the reflation trade to be back on, we need to see the market down here, putting some positioning against these lows, looking for more downside, and we're not seeing that. Trade is dead. So if I just go over what we've discussed so far, we had a big reflation trade being put on at the start of the year. Now that's failed to continue, and what we've seen is really high inflation recently, but the Fed sees it as transitory. The other central banks see it as transitory too. The Fed isn't seeing what the improvements it wants in the labour market, and so it's hard for the market to price in, you know, rate hikes or QE tapering being pulled forward. And so because of that, you know, we're getting this bid in the long end bonds, and we're getting flattening when we had an offer in the long end bonds earlier in the year, and steepening in the 2s, 10s. And so because of this dynamic, the reflation trade is not on.